You're listening to The Talent Sync. The Talent Sync is a collaborative podcast production about anything and everything recruiting and hiring, literally the kitchen sink, and how all things in talent acquisition work together, should work together, and how sometimes they don't. Now it's time to sync up with your hosts, Kevin Grossman and Leah Daniels. Today's topic is about keeping the humans in the AI loop. Enjoy the podcast. Leah, how are you doing? It's so good to see you again.
Kevin, I don't know why it always feels like it's been a year since we saw each other, and it's been like a minute, but how are you?
Busy.
I'm good.
The good news is that we're busy, right? So, and you were telling me before we started that you just spoke at an event, you keynoted an event, right?
Yeah, I got to speak at the Michigan Recruiters Conference with Mr. Sackett. Love it. They were such a wonderful group of people. Very nice, very attentive.
And that Tim put that on, right? That was his event?
Yeah, I think he puts it on every year. It's his 8th or 9th year of it. I think he only had 1 year off, and 200 people, recruiters of all kinds of organizations, all in the room, all leaning in, super supportive, interesting group. It was really fun. Hard to get to Grand Rapids, though. Got to tell you, hard to get there.
I have never been, so I thank you for that insight. That's good. Have never been there. When I went to Topeka, it was hard to get to Topeka just because I had to drive from Kansas City, and that was over an hour.
Yeah.
But anyway, also news. Well, we've both been busy, so you've been doing that. You were speaking. You've been traveling a lot for work too. And our announcement just went out that we are merging with ERE Media, so we're super excited about that. David Bannister and his crew, and so
great crew.
We're going to continue to do our research, expand the research, grow the content, really try to get those events hopping and shaking, that the conferences that ERE runs, and just do all things TA.
I love the marriage, right? Because you've been very focused on the candidate part, and I think ERE's been really focused on the recruiter
very much
aspect. And you know how I love that marriage, right? Recruiter experience and candidate experience, they are intertangled. So I think it's a great marriage.
Thank you. We're super excited about it. So 2024, look out, and you better not, world, please don't burn down, because we got stuff to do, right?
So you guys going to be the Candy RE, like Candery?
Canderies? I don't think that's going to be a thing. Not the Canderies.
Stop. I should stop trying to make it a thing.
Don't make it a thing, because somebody will start sharing it. Canderies. No, it's going to be still the candies, but
all right, good.
As the main core research, and then we are going to expand TA research too. So anyway, it's all exciting stuff. But
you have the Recruiter Experience Awards too. You have the Recruities.
Well, we talked, and we're not going to call it that either. Nope, not gonna do that.
One day I'll be a marketer, I promise.
You are. I appreciate the effort, though. I do, really, I do. That's actually an idea. It was an idea that we had a long time ago to do that too. But anyway, enough of that. We're gonna talk about keeping the human in the AI loop. I think that was kind of the theme that you and I had talked about before. And there's so much to unpack in that. But just as starters, tell me again. You were telling me about this horrible recruiting piece or thing that you found online, a question.
This went out on Twitter or X. Are we calling it Twitter or are we calling it X these days?
I don't call it anything, actually. So, no, it's actually X. It's X. But you can still say Twitter, I guess. I don't know. But literally it is X.
Hang on one second. I'm just trying to find it now. Of course,
I did hear that Elon Musk is working on, I don't know how true this is, but his own kind of OpenAI kind of service, like a Chat GPT
so
thing.
That's interesting, because I thought he was an investor in the original Chat GPT. So
in
it's
OpenAI?
Interesting to me.
I don't know about that. That's a good. I don't know if that's the case, but I just read this just early this morning at the when I was up, and I read that. So I don't know much about it, but anyway. So yes, you found it on X, Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. So what was it?
So it's a question that's being asked. So this is one of the things that kills me a little inside, is that every once in a while, a recruiter.
You just died a little bit right now again.
Died a little. a recruiter will put out something. Recruiters do things occasionally. We should never judge a group by an individual, but this particular company is asking for the following in their job application. How do you feel life has worked out for you so far? Question mark. Please record a short, roughly 2 to 5 minute video. Paste the link here. We recommend you use Loom because it's free, or you can use any tool you prefer. And all I can think to myself is there's never been a better case for discrimination. How is this in any way qualifying you in or out for a job?
So I mean, again, you don't have to, because you didn't call out the company. Was it part of the application process then? Was that what it was?
Part of the application process.
That's like saying, why don't you ask for my social security number too?
But we do that. We already do that.
But you're not supposed to do that. And I'm telling you right now, if my kids, when they start applying for real jobs, if they're at that employer, before they're even screened, if they ask for their social, I'm saying you're out. You're not going down that path. There's no way.
I mean, all my soapboxes. Obviously, a lot of companies use WOTC as part of their screening process. Not screening in process, but they do put it into the screening process. And so it does appear to a candidate that they are providing their social security number, their other details, really personal information, as part of an application. And say, just no, you don't need to do it there. It doesn't belong there.
No. As we start to pile on, so it's not even unpack. We're actually going to start piling on, is what it is. So, and I think I might have mentioned this to you before. I might have mentioned it on the show. I don't know, but I'm going to say it again, just because it's not necessarily AI, just like the first example you gave. But when I did a workshop earlier this year, during one of the breaks, we had just been talking about timely dispositions, timely rejections for candidates. And one of the recruiters comes up to me and she holds up her phone in my face and she says, "Look." So I looked at it and I'm like, wow. And I'm reading it. It's just like one of those templatized rejection notes, right? It's pretty standard that you see. And then she looks at me and she says, "This is something I just received this week for a job I applied to a year and a half ago."
Oh, well, that's good.
An extreme example. Now, that's still probably some automation, however it was triggered at the end of the day. But the reality is that, I mean, one of the things we tell employers every year, do not do that. If months have already gone by, I would argue you're probably better off not doing anything and getting on track to being just timely within the first 1 to 2 weeks. If they're not qualified, do it then. Anyway.
For me, that is an example of an evergreen position where we've accumulated lots of candidates against it. And then we did a mass closing on it to reopen and start again.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
It's a tough part. You've got these one size fits all tools trying.
Yeah, I know.
Right? And like, if it doesn't have a really clean evergreen management, you'll struggle with exactly that particular component with the automation, right? Because you're not rejecting everybody when you close the position. A year and a half, 2 years ago, close it down. And that's when those stuff. On this one that I mentioned, though, Kevin, as we jump in, one of the biggest fears I have of a question like that is the use of AI on the video and how that goes into the screening and selection process.
But see, that's already been done. And we don't have to mention any names at all, but that's already been done in the space. There are solution providers that have done that.
Yep. Well, and it's interesting because I think we're going to do it again. Like, history is going to repeat itself 7 or 25 more times. And to your point, you said to me right before we started recording, we're going on this train down this road towards AI, and we will get incrementally better.
We will.
We'll get better. But what's happening right now is the question. And you as an employer are going to be held to today's standards, not future standards. How do you keep this train on the tracks, not allow your AI to discriminate? But you know what? Don't let your current employees discriminate either.
No, don't. And we've actually been done pretty well to date. You and I don't ever get political and don't want to be political. And I'm not even being political about what I'm about to say right now, but I think it's pretty fantastic that the current administration came out with an executive order about new standards for AI safety and security and multiple other categories about dealing with AI today, getting our heads and arms and everything around it, because it's not a lot's happening in legislative side. right? And I think again, just reading through this, some of these protections talk about keeping the human in the AI, protecting the human in the AI. That's what this executive order is about, right? So I mean, I think besides the some of the laws that we're seeing popping up, and you were telling me something before we started about. So there's an Illinois law too, like the New York one.
Yeah, but it's older than.
It's older. See, I don't remember that one. So
yeah.
Okay.
It's about video interviewing. And
video. Right.
It's very specific about AI in video interviewing and the rights of the candidate to opt out, the right of the candidate to have the data removed, the rights of the candidate to be informed ahead of time that AI will be in use. And I think that that's actually a pretty good template that we're seeing in, the other legislation, right? It's really about information, the candidate being aware and may or may not be able to opt out of the process. Now, what's super interesting to me, okay, you know that I'm a little bit of a nerd in this stuff, so bear with me here. But I think is super interesting is in the New York law, for those of you following closely, that there was an amendment that came behind it. And the amendment was around the anti-bias that you have audit that you have to go through every year. And you have to publish. It doesn't say that your AI can't be biased. It just says you have to publish the results. I think that's pretty interesting. It's not saying that you have to it doesn't even say you have to fix it. It just says you have to publish your results. And I think that is an opportunity, a gap, right? I think it should have gone, if you're going to do this, you should go a little further, right? If your technology is proving out to be biased, then you need to do something about it as an organization.
Time for a talent sync break.
Hey everybody, Kevin Grossman here, president of Talent Board and the Candidate Experience Awards. Our 2023 Candidate Experience Benchmark Research Program will open in January and run through August 31st. To learn more on how your organization can participate, go to thetalentboard.org.
Break time's over. Now back to the talent sync.
But we did talk about this before too, we started, was that you can't, I like the point of being the transparency, publish your results and then tell us about the plan of that you're working hard to reduce and remove the bias. It's just not going to be 100% anytime soon. It's just, I think just already though, like I'm on my local school board. One of my fellow board members is a super even techier and nerdier than you, by the way. And he is working for a startup locally here in Santa Cruz and getting ready to potentially launch something himself too. But he's, totally leverages a lot of the different AIs, the different paying for open AI. So the ChatGPT plugins, and there's so many different things that are available now. And it's powerful. He sat there with us before our meeting started and created this. I don't even know. It was taking our board book. So on the school board, we have a big, agenda, right? Every time we meet and there's a big agenda. So taking the board book and creating this tool that easily and quickly extracts, interprets. He just did this in a few minutes, just put it together. And I'm like, wow. And I've been playing, probably more with Bard than ChatGPT recently, but whatever. I'm still using it more, but he just did that in a few minutes. And I'm like, and it is a very, very powerful, helpful tool. You can do that across the board and think about how it's applying to recruiting. But I think the hard part though is still bias and using it for selection. I think that's where companies are still extremely hesitant. I think we talked about in the last show that will go live, before this one does, obviously, but we did talk about it a little bit where there's a fear of that. There's a fear of leaning on the technology for selection versus just candidate communications and outreach and scheduling. And
there's a lot of reasons for that, right? And these tools are giving us reasons. My favorite is I was playing with ChatGPT the other day and I asked it to read something and then give me back a blog post on it, which I love. It's a good starter, and then I edit it. It made some stuff up while it was doing it. It was like, here's some new material. Wasn't even part of the brief. And I was like, well, that's creative. Incorrect, but creative. Thank you. And I think that is where this is still nascent, and it's sort of early days. And when you are operating these things without a real clear set of guide rails on it. It has no morals. It has no ethics. It doesn't have any of these things. It also doesn't have a concept of truth or fiction. right? We're not there yet. And so I do think that my perspective is that humans need to be in the loop because we need to bring those elements to the mix, not because I fear for the job or I fear for the role. And I think that that is another play that's in all of this, is that a lot of people are afraid of what happens to my job if I'm not a prompt engineer soon, right? How does my role get replaced or removed or eliminated? And it's interesting because without the AI, we were already seeing companies move towards automated hiring and selection. It's already happening. I can think of 3 companies off the top of my head that do this at scale. And that has no AI involved. That's simply, are you qualified? Are you not qualified? Will you show up and pass a background check? Yes, 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 you're in. And y'all hire you now. Show up on Monday and sign the I-9 and you're now an employee. So like we were headed in this direction. This is accelerating some of those things, but I think we still have a lot of work to do on the AI front before we're going to be confident in its ability to do selection.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, I might have mentioned this before, that when I first came into this space, way back at the end of 99, at the .com heyday, there was a startup that I worked for that was called Tapestry.net. And we had talent communities for developers, IT professionals, and bilingual Japanese professionals, because that's actually how the founders started the whole thing. And then we developed our own, secret sauce algorithm. We had a partnership with Burning Glass, who was parsing the resumes for us. And then we were using our tech to match, and we were calling it AI then, which was way too early. Even today we talk about it. It's still very early days, but that's how we were marketing it. But what was happening was, part of it was for protection, part of it was because we still needed the human in the loop, is that we were shortlisting candidates. So it was a subscription model, monthly subscription. Companies would buy it. We would help improve them upon their job description, match their job description to our database, shortlist, vet, and then serve it back up to them and saying, here's the candidates we feel you should be contacting today. And remember, that was back in the day when they were hiring, people with a heartbeat to develop and do software development. And it was a much different time, and it was great and it worked, but it was still very, very, very human in the loop, right, at that time. And I think that today it's night and day from where we're at now. I mean, the power it is frightening. It is frightening, actually, what we're on the cusp of, don't you think? A little bit.
I think it is. I think it's, like every evolution in our society, right? The beginning is the scariest part, and then at some point it becomes normal. I do think that we are looking, though, at some of this without a clear sense of the speed that we are going to gain from this in the end, right? There is an acceleration, not just the adoption, but once this is fully functional. What I like about what's happening right now, though, is that we are looking at the world through outcomes still. And I think at the end of the day, that is going to be the thing that matters. Are our outcomes aligning with the business needs? Are the outcomes aligning with the regulatory needs, right? Are our outcomes as good or better than what we were doing before, right? I think that's always going to be the thing that matters.
Yeah. And speaking of outcomes, and I'm hoping this isn't Groundhog Day, and I keep repeating myself but I'm not sure if I shared this before. So we did a panel discussion at our virtual event for the Candy Conference. And one of the speakers, Amanda Jordan, who works for HP Enterprise, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, nobody would know what I'm talking about when I said HP, right? Kevin, we don't get it. What is HP again?
Maybe no one under 30 though.
Oh God, that's true. Anyway, yeah, they've come a long way. Anyway, long story short, they're leveraging some AI matching technologies for skills inventory internally, to have a better understanding of the skills that their current workforce has. And this has been a long time thing for companies trying to figure out too, and to then better match internal mobility opportunities. So I think there was and she shared this too, so it's already been out there, and when we ran the session, but there was a much more of a comfort level doing that internally, right? Of then being able to say, these 10 people in our organization have these skill sets. Maybe we should approach them for these roles that we need to fill right now. Now, that's not necessarily new, but I think because of the magical qualities of the algorithms, I don't know what I was even trying to say, but I mean, that the magical qualities, but how good it's getting now how accurate it's getting.
It's an interesting statement because I'm thinking back to the original chatbots that came out, and the very first ones that I remember seeing that were relatively useful, and this is quite a few years ago, were the ones that were serving internal needs, right? I need to find this document to request something, or how do I get new benefits? Instead of having to go through a tree structure to find information, you could interact with this chatbot. And I think there is a certain comfort level of having things internal first in a way that allows you to solve the problem, like a real problem. It's not solving a useful problem, but there's a limit, a sense of control, right? So you're not having this experience in the outside market where you might be judged in a way that you probably be less likely internally. And I think that makes sense, right? I think that actually is a very logical way to roll things out, especially in organizations that are particularly conservative and like to be really confident in what's going to happen. I do think part of the challenge with AI and its speed in which it is being adopted and consumed into the market is that we don't have a good sense of what the risks are, and we're going at 100 miles an hour. And if you see a risk as a speed bump and you're going 100 miles an hour and you hit a couple of them sequentially, it creates a really scary situation for an organization, especially a high-profile brand. And so I do understand the concern and the desire to have it's not just a human in the loop. I think it's actually a critical human in the loop, right? I think that's actually the thing that we probably aren't saying out loud is you look at the data and you look at what's happening critically to say, is this okay? Is this happening properly? And I think that's a lot of what the executive order was really trying to tackle, is having a critical eye towards it. Not just a person there, but like a person who is looking at it through the lens of, is this thing operating the way it should?
Time for a Talent Sync break.
Hi, Talent Sync listeners. I just wanted to share a bit about JobSync with you all. JobSync helps companies get more quality candidates out of their job board advertising and automates a variety of manual recruitment tasks by solving for the very low conversion rate challenges most companies experience on their career site. JobSync integrates your entire application, including all of your questions, directly into the various job boards' quick apply processes, providing you with fully completed applications directly into your ATS and resulting in 2 to 5 times more candidates, while dropping your cost per application by half. This helps return up to 10 hours a week back into your recruiter's time through custom automations that are based on your business-specific recruiting processes. JobSync works with most major ATSs like Workday, SuccessFactors, and Taleo, CRMs, programmatic platforms, and job boards like Indeed and Zip. You can check out jobsync.com to learn more.
Break time's over. Now back to the Talent Sync.
Yeah, and that's why I liked all the different categories that they outlined in the executive order too, from privacy to bias to, just a lot of different things. But I agree with you on that. I think matching skills to jobs to need is as old as recruiting time. It's just that I think now with the technology that is available, it is getting bigger, faster, better, easier to do that, and we still have to be careful with that at the end of the day. And I think that's where the wariness is. But it's like when we want companies to survey their candidates and participate in our research. Most companies, the most comfort level they have is surveying new hires. It's just like the internal, because it feels safer, it's easier. There's also a positive skew because people get the job and they're gonna rate you higher at the end of the day. But I'm now more, at first, when again last fall when ChatGPT was first really starting to turn heads and getting people to play with it and use it. As a writer, I was super resistant at first. And I think part of it was a lot of different levels, whether it was on the school board level, professional level. But now, just like you were talking about your example, I totally use it to help me jumpstart.
So I use it on both sides. I jumpstart and to edit. I love it as an editor. I actually find it to be extraordinarily helpful as an editor.
Interesting. I have not done that yet. I usually still either have somebody edit or I edit still.
So I do read it afterwards, but I'll put whatever I've drafted, however I've gotten there in, and you have to be very specific. This is the prompt engineer, right? We are all going to become prompt engineers. Like, everybody needs to just accept that as this is your new job. But you have to be clear about what you want. I ask it to edit it for clarity, brevity, and grammar. Those are usually my 3 that I ask for. If you just give it like a lot of space, it will put a lot of fluffiness into your writing, which some people may enjoy. I am not a fluffy writer, so for me, it like makes my skin crawl. But
I can be a fun writer, but I'm not a fluffy writer. No.
yeah, there's a lot of 50-cent words that they're dropping in there. So it is definitely going through its own evolution. And I can tell now when someone uses it to write based on some of the word choice. Like it definitely has, like a human, it has some preferences in word choice, which I think is really interesting.
It is. It does. It continues to learn. And I think even whether it maybe expands those preferences, adapts those preferences, which is kind of the scary part. But still, at the end of the day, I mean, we keep hearing this theme and this message for talent acquisition leaders and their teams is that you do need to embrace it. You do, like you just said, you do need to be a prompt engineer. And the other two panelists that I had from two completely different industries on that discussion around AI, and they are experimenting with it. They are having it help them improve upon or draft job descriptions and other candidate communications to get some things started and ideate, all those fun buzzwords that we use, and to just using it on a personal level like that is something that it won't even be something that we think about anymore. It's true about you're right about any technology thing. I mean, when calculators came out, that was super disruptive. When GPS came out on our phones, that was disruptive. And now I don't ever want to read a physical map again. I just want my freaking phone to tell me
I really did enjoy a good print Google map.
Well, we did.
Which is better than when I had the big one in my glove compartment that I had to pull over the side of the road to look at.
Well,
where am I?
But my wife and I remember we we would do road trips and we had just the big old Rand McNally, right?
Yeah.
Maps.
Oh yeah.
And we were using it, but now I don't want that. No, I want my phone to tell me where to go. So
one of the things I said when you and I talked, I think earlier this year, I think it was maybe March or April, it was earlier this year, I said, I'm concerned that we are in a race to mediocrity. And I will say on the writing front, given that these systems do have a proclivity towards certain language, certain style, certain writing words, we're there right now. Like I said, I can read certain people's writing and go, that was written by ChatGPT. I can see it, right? And I hear that for candidates are using it for cover letters, which, by the way, do we really need cover letters? But candidates are using it for cover letters. So I can't even imagine if you are actually a company who's reading cover letters, what you're reading. You're probably reading the exact same cover letter because the language is so similar when you ask for a cover letter. And I put 10 different resumes in in the same job, and I got about 10 of the same cover letters.
And then it's the dark side of the dark web. Is there really a dark web, by the way? I know I've heard that, but like people,
there's definitely a dark web. My husband works for a hacking company. I know
Seriously,
all about the dark web. Oh yeah, it's
really
real. I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Anyway, that's another podcast. So but I guess my point was as we wind down this one is that this is why I was so supportive of the writer's strike and the actor strike, because I think they were very, very worried that they were going to be used once and then replaced with AI, and I still do worry about the writing part of that, because I'm again I write what I write. Even if ChatGPT helps me get something started, or I have a writer who helps me get something started, that's very standard too. I still, at the end of the day, want to make it it's still mine, and I still do like to. But I think that there are many things that are going to, in the next few years in particular, Leah, are going to be super fast change.
Yep. Hold on to your horses. It's coming.
Super fast change. But it's exciting though, right? So I think I don't think that the humans can't go away. It's not going to go away right now. We do have to be prompt engineers, as you were saying. We have to learn how to do that and embrace that, because that's where we're at now.
I want to add to it. Prompt engineer, but you also have to be a critical person, right? You have to read when it comes back. Again, and then so on that, and to wrap us up, my biggest concern today with AI in the recruitment space in our little world, and is that candidates and recruiters are going to race to mediocrity because they are not going to be prompt engineers, and they are not going to be critical readers of what is coming out of that part of it, right? I'm actually less concerned about the selection piece, because I think that everybody is worried about it and they're thinking about it, and there's a tension on it, right? And we're judging on the metrics, but what we're not looking at is the job description that everybody's hitting the same API on to rewrite their job description, And now you go on a job board as a candidate and every single company sounds the same. If you happen to be someone who reads job descriptions, how like disappointing is this going to be for you trying to figure out where you might want to spend your time, right? And so I think we could be in a dangerous place right now where we overcorrect a little and overuse these systems. And then I think candidates on the other side are going to do the same thing. Except like I use the
They already are.
Right, they already are, because why would they not? I mean, if you're 22, do you know how to write a cover letter? No. I'm in my 40s, I don't know how to write a cover letter.
Part of, but it's remember, you also have to look at who are the proponents and who are the adversaries of something at any given time, and what's the context of why they are there. So like I personally, and I would argue anecdotally, most of the TA folks that I've talked with, nobody's looking at cover letters anymore, but it's still a cottage industry.
I mean, I talked to somebody the other day that is in fact collecting. They're doing it. They're collecting cover letters. I don't know if they're reading them, but they are asking for them.
And career professionals who are helping people write their cover letters. And I mean, they're also being circumvented by AI now too. But it is a big. It is something that, but nobody's reading that. Anyway, I think, let's wrap this one now, right? Because I think that this is going to be a continuing conversation, but I'm glad that there is a lot of exciting things to come and a lot of guardrails that need to be adhered to. And you're right. I think that if to end on anything, Leah, what you said is super important. We cannot lose being critical thinkers. We just can't. Can't do it.
Number one
All
skill.
Right?
It's the number one skill right now.
Number one skill, period. Absolutely. Well, listen, it's always a pleasure, Leah. And until next time, everybody continue to get your talent sync. Be synced with the talent sync. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Talent Sync podcast, a Talent Board and Job Sync collaborative podcast production. More episodes soon.